Hey guys, so my sister always tells me that I should record myself doing this kind of stuff, and I don't. So I grabbed my camera really quick, kind of have a very weird angle because I wanted to be able to have my camera plugged in so the battery wouldn't die. You can pretty much see everything, which is that I want to get rid of this backsplash. It's really just like a piece of either plastic or like vinyl or something like that they have on the wall. I want to take this down, and then I have this peel and stick tile over here that I want to take down, and basically I just want it to be tile the whole way across. I think it's really weird that they put this up around the stove but then have this in the rest of the kitchen. I'm not sure if that was like a money saving thing or a laziness thing, like if this was already in and they just put the tile in the rest. I don't know, it bothers me. I'd really prefer it to just all be tile and be more cohesive. And since I'm already ripping this out and putting new tile in, I actually just want to put all new tile in. I'm still going to do the adhesive type of tile that like I have now because it's significantly cheaper and it seems to work perfectly fine. I put it in at my sister's house and she hasn't had any problem with it. I'm actually going to install an over-the-range microwave. So the range that's in here now is going to be coming out, and then the microwave will actually come down farther and it'll be like level with where the bottom of the cabinet is. So the tile won't need to go up as far. So to be able to put the microwave in, I need to get this out of here as well because it needs to be able to come down farther, and I don't want it to sit in front of this stuff. And stuff like this, always a good idea to wear a mask. You don't know what was used to install it. You don't know what kind of dust you're going to be turning up. Also, when you're pulling stuff off the walls, you can pull away some of the walls and stir up dust, especially in my house. I have plaster, and you don't want to be breathing in plaster dust. Same with drywall dust. So good to wear a mask. You can also wear glasses if you want to. Usually I always start with a mask, and then if it's very dusty, then I'll put glasses on. So yeah, I think, like I said, I'm just going to get started and see where I'm at and figure out exactly what I've got myself into and grab the tools I need once I have a better idea of what I will need. Alright, so it is the next day. I did a little bit more work off camera, which I just didn't feel like recording. I'm sorry. I will go over what I did though. because I scraped for a bit, wasn't really getting anywhere. The old glue on the wall, which was all the brown stuff that was all over the wall, was some sort of adhesive. I don't know what kind, but it was just all over the wall, and it was very old, so it was like just stuck solid to the wall. So what I ended up doing was I used some paint stripper, put that on, and then scraped everything off. This is the paint stripper I used. I like this stuff because it's low fume, so it doesn't smell as bad, and it's also a gel, so it's very easy to use because it's not like liquidy. I also definitely recommend buying an actual paint scraper if you're going to be stripping paint. It's just a lot easier to get something that's actually meant to be used as a paint scraper. I use my painter's tool that I showed before, which is a paint scraper on the end, and those are super cheap. I think I got mine for like $8, and they're very useful for a lot of different things, so definitely worth the purchase. The wall looks kind of crazy, obviously, because of it being stripped, but this is what I needed, which is a nice smooth surface. So all I have left to do is I want to do a final scraping and sanding just to make sure I've got all the loose stuff off of the wall. And then I'm actually going to put up a coat of primer, because this right now is just the plaster wall. There is no paint on this wall anymore. So I'm gonna put up a coat of primer. Alright, so it's day 4 of working on this project. Yesterday, off camera, I stripped this wall as well because it had more of that brown stuff all over it. This wall is just about ready to be painted. I'm going to do one last scrape and sand and then paint it. It is day 6 of this project, and I think I mentioned before that after putting the coat of primer on the wall that I need to let it fully dry, and I want to make sure it's like completely cured before I try and put the tile up so that I don't have any problems. So my plan is to wait at least 3 full days. So while that is drying, I am getting all of the tiles pre-cut so they are ready to go up on the wall. I started on it yesterday and I'm hoping to wrap it up today and possibly start putting the tiles up tomorrow. So here are all of the tiles. It looks crazy, but this is what I've got. 2 of the sections are almost completely done. This section is fully done. And then I've got that all laid out. 20 tiles was enough for the whole kitchen. I actually have 4 sheets left over, which is perfect. If anything would have gone wrong in the process of cutting, I would have had extra to work with, so that's great. And yeah, I won't have to buy any more, which is awesome. I'm so glad that the 20 that I bought ended up being like the perfect amount. So yeah, this is what I'm doing. And I know it looks probably crazy and like ridiculous, but this is like a great way to do it, honestly, to lay it out like this so you can see it and make sure that all of your measurements are good before you start sticking it up on the wall, because once it's stuck to the wall, you are not getting it off of the wall without damaging it. So I've got it all laid out, double checking that all the measurements are right, and it'll be ready to go then straight up on the wall. I won't need to be cutting things while also trying to get it up on the wall. So yeah, making progress. Plan is to try and get this done today, but I'm losing my mind just like a little bit. It is a lot, but I have like all of the measuring and stuff done. Now I just need to do a little bit more cutting. Okay, it is time to start getting the tiles up on the wall. I already did this small section off camera. I didn't show any of this wall being done because it didn't require as much work. I just had to take the old tile down and put the new stuff up. But I went ahead and did this already. as sort of a practice run because this was a very small and easy section to do. I just had to cut the edges and then cut out for the outlet, but otherwise it was just putting the pieces side by side, nothing complicated. So I wanted to start off with that as sort of practice before doing this area over here, because this area is much more difficult because I've got a corner and then I've got two exposed ends also. This one, you know, the end comes right up to the door jamb and then to the cabinet and then kind of disappears behind the fridge. So that was a lot easier. Whereas this, I just have like end of a wall, and then I've got to have them meet at the corner. And then I'm bringing it up to the cabinet, but then this is all open. I mentioned before I plan on putting in a over-the-range microwave, so this will be coming out and then the microwave's going to come down lower, but for right now I still have this in, so my plan is to just have the tile come up to where the cabinet is, and then when the microwave goes in, the microwave should either meet this line or come like just below it. So since it's not in here now, I'm kind of just working off of the cabinet. So what I did was I drew a line on the wall for me to follow, so I know where to have the tiles come up to, and I used a level for this to make sure the line was straight. And like I said, you can see I just started here where the cabinet is and then drew the line straight across all the way here, so that's how I'll line up the tiles, because I want to start in the corner. This corner piece is going to be the most difficult, so I want to make sure that I'm getting it right. I want to leave like a little bit of a gap in the corner so that the tiles line up nicely. So I think I'm just going to use my ruler as the guide for how I want the gap to be. That way it has the effect that the tiles wrap around the corner instead of meeting oddly, if that makes sense. And as far as the tiles, the way that I did this is that I took one piece of tile and cut that, so then I can have them meet in the corner to create that effect. So yeah, I really want to make sure I get this corner right, because then everything else is going to be lining up based on these two pieces that I put in the corner. So this might take me a minute, but I want to make sure that it's perfect so that everything else lines up properly. Alright, so we have reached the first mistake, which this is a perfect example of why you should hold the tile up first before trying to stick it to the wall. And that is that this tile is too long. What I need to do is recut this tile to take this extra ½ an inch off, which isn't a big deal. It's a simple fix, but like I said, this is a good reason why to hold the tile up first and make sure that it looks right before trying to stick it to the wall. So I'll have to make that adjustment on the cut, but otherwise everything is going fine. Alright, so it is the last day of this project. We are getting the grouting done, and I just want to preface all of this by saying I am in no way an expert on grouting. This is the first time I have ever grouted tile. I watched some videos on YouTube and decided to go for it. It's relatively a simple process, but I wouldn't say that I in any way know what I'm doing. Okay, so all the tile is grouted. I scraped off all the excess, then went back and did touch-ups, scraped off the excess again, and then I'm gonna let this sit for a bit and then do the final step, which is wiping it all down. It is time for the final reveal of my new backsplash. Here is the section that you guys watched me do throughout the video, And as I said, this was around my stove, and I'm so happy with the way it looks. It's so drastically different than what it was before. I actually reused the trim pieces that were on the vinyl sheets as the trim for the tile. I did have to cut the back of it off because it wasn't wide enough, so the edge is a little janky over here, but I'm going to be caulking along this edge and that'll get rid of that gap. And I also spray painted it white because, as you can see, the piece back here has kind of yellowed from age, so I will be spray painting the rest of it all white to match this piece here. But I think it looks really nice. And then obviously once I get the microwave in, I'll take these back trim pieces down. They're just kind of up temporarily until I get that new microwave in. Let me get a close-up so you can see the grouting. I think it turned out pretty good, especially for my first time ever grouting tile, and I did this hexagon tile, which is definitely harder because you have so many spaces and everything's close together, but it turned out pretty good. Probably a couple tiny spots that could use some touch-ups, but that's easy enough to do. Afterwards, you can always touch up spots once it's been grouted. So yeah, I'm happy with the way that it looks. Definitely a huge transformation for my kitchen. I also, of course, did the rest of my kitchen. Ignore the dirty dishes. You saw this small spot earlier in the video, which is, you know, fully done. I grouted this as well. It looks great. And then my dirty dishes. This spot is just a huge transformation. Before, the tile was only on this back section, but I actually had an extra 4 sheets of tile when I was done with everything, so I decided to wrap it around, and I think it looks so good like that. I'm so happy that I had the idea to do that, and I probably never would have thought to do that if it weren't for the fact that I had extra tile left over. So yeah, this was actually a huge transformation as well, since I added tile that wasn't even there before. So happy with this. This section was a nightmare to do because I couldn't just move the counter out of the way like I did with the other 2 sections. So it was a lot harder because I had to work around the countertop, but I'm so glad that I did this. Let's do some final thoughts. All in all, I think this is my favorite project that I've done in the house so far. With the amount of time that I put in and then the final product, I feel like it had the biggest payoff. Beginning to end of this project was about 2 weeks, but I did not work on it every single day. For actual work days, it was about 7 or 8 days, and that was only working on it 2 to 3 hours a day. I also had a lot of extra steps with the prep process, with having to strip the paint from the wall that not everyone is going to have to do. So I only had to do that on this wall. I did not have to strip the other walls to be able to prepare them for the new tile. So keep that in mind if this is something that you want to do. You might not have as much prep process as I did, or you might have more. I will list below the items that I used for this project, like the tile, the grout, the tools, all of those things, even things that I might not have shown on camera or mentioned but were essential to this project, like buying a mixer attachment for my drill in order to mix the grout. I would highly recommend this to anyone that wants to update their kitchen. It's such a cost-effective way to just completely change the look of your kitchen. I bought all of these tiles for $100, which definitely is not cheap, but to put all new backsplash in your kitchen for $100 is crazy. The grout, I think, cost me maybe $15 for the bag, and then I had to get the grout float. So overall, beginning to end, this project cost me less than $150, which is insane. I think that for the amount of work and the amount of money that you put in, it is huge payoff, and definitely worth it. So check out the description if you're interested in any of the things that I did in this video of what I used, and thanks for watching. Bye guys!